Hello everyone, my name is Lana. I work at West Orange Public Library. I do collection development and book discussions. First of all, I wanted to thank everyone who is joining us tonight or everyone who will be seeing this program later on. We are very happy to be able to bring you these programs um, during the times when the library is closed. Next month, we will have 4 more authors visiting us and talking about the latest books. To be able to see all our offerings to kids, teens, and adults, you can go to our Facebook page or our library website. And on the website, you have a choice of either checking our calendar or viewing our slides on our homepage. And one more thing, I was gonna say that we're gonna be recording this presentation and it will be available on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. And now it's my sincere pleasure to introduce Liz. Liz Josefsberg is a health, wellness, and weight loss expert with almost 20 years of experience in this industry. She has worked with and consulted many large wellness companies like Weight Watchers, Lifetime Fitness, Vitamin Shop, Optum, and many more. She has also worked with many celebrities and likely best known with her involvement with Oscar-winning actress and musician Jennifer Hudson to help her lose weight and transform her life. Liz also appeared on many TV shows, national TV shows like the Oprah Winfrey Show, Good Morning America, the Dr. Oz Show, and some others. And of course, Liz is the author of several books, and her latest book is called Target 100, the world's simplest weight loss program and 6 easiest steps. In today's presentation, Liz will focus on how to build the healthy habits during this unsettling times. So welcome, Liz.
Thank you so much. And I would also love to say I am a South Orange resident, so I'm just right down the street. Very happy to be here with you guys at the West Orange Public Library. So I wanted to take some time tonight. I'm going to share my screen. I have a little presentation. My background, is in health and wellness. I'm just going to share this screen with you guys so I can get some photos up for you. I have as we say, a long history in wellness and health, but I love to tell people, for me, it's all personal. I was actually 65 pounds overweight myself, and went on a journey to discover what it was to not just lose the weight that had plagued me from the time I was very, very young. I was about 14 when I started gaining the weight, and I had a yo-yo dieting problem for many, many years, but was to really get behind what it is to be healthy, what it is to create a healthy lifestyle, and the habit science that we're learning about now behind really actually truly just building a healthy lifestyle. So I've been very busy, as you can imagine, right now with COVID-19, really trying to help people understand that they are very capable of living a healthy life. And I'm trying to help people understand how to think this through in a new way. So, yes, I have, as I say, lost weight myself, worked at major, major corporations. But what's most important to me is that I've learned how to lose the weight and keep it off. It's been off now for almost 10 years. So that is a really big piece for me, because it's not that I just go and study this stuff, but I'm actually living it day in and day out. And for me, it's not just about the weight. It was actually for me, and it is for all of my clients and the people that I see, it was about behavior patterns. And so I kind of wanted to take some time tonight to really have you dissect and think about your behavior patterns, give you a little insight on brain science and habit formation, so that when you get off of this call, you could feel empowered to say, there really isn't anything I can't change if I have the right formula, if I really just put one foot in front of the other and understand what that cycle of change looks like. So for me, everything goes back to habits. And believe it or not, I have sort of some data here that is kind of shocking. Habits are these things that we do day in and day out that we are not actually really present for when we're doing them, right? So this is the way that the brain actually saves space. It takes something that you do repeatedly and it shunts it to a back portion of the brain so that you don't have to think about it, or you don't have to decide how to do it over and over again. And in my book, I use the example of like washing your hair or brushing your teeth. If you had to decide every single day how to brush your teeth, which hand to use, how to put the toothpaste on the toothpaste, all of those decisions would lead to what we call decision fatigue. So the brain, being a very good supercomputer, says, okay, I see this code. We're going to do this every morning after she gets out of the bed. She's going to put her left foot on the floor, the right foot on the floor. She's going to go in. She's going to turn the water on with her left hand. She's going to do this. And it codes this whole thing so that you don't even think about it. Another great example of like habitry would be like if you've ever done something where even eating a meal, where you finish eating and you can't remember if you had lunch because you were actually doing other things. You were multitasking at the time, or even driving somewhere where you've driven over and over again and you get there and wonder how you got there because you really don't remember driving, right? That's an example of what the brain, what we call habits. Believe it or not, up to 50% of what you do in a day is actually estimated to maybe be habit. So up to 50% could be that you're not even present. You're not even there, right? So these habit loops are what we basically live in all day, every day. And they're comprised of these three things, right? So a habit is made up of three things. There is something that triggers a routine, like brushing your teeth, and there is a reward that you get from that particular habit or that particular routine, right? Fresh breath, teeth feeling clean, feeling more awake, whatever it is, there is a benefit or payoff to whatever that habit is. So, we basically walk through our day in a trigger loop, right? So, as I say, you set your feet on the floor, your alarm goes off, that triggers this, that triggers that triggers you heading down to the coffee maker. We have all of these things and they actually all cascade off of one another when we actually watch them. So these triggers lead into these routines and they have rewards. So funny enough, even outside of that, what we know now is that about 80% of the thoughts you have in a day, you've actually had already. The brain, again, is just a simple looping computer, and it just loops through thoughts and feelings in order to trigger routines, right? So what I see a lot in my business of weight loss is if somebody perceives that they didn't do something perfectly, right? Like they were trying to eat on a diet and they had a cookie after lunch, they perceive it negatively. The brain sends all of these thoughts. Oh, you did it wrong. You didn't do it good enough. It's over anyway. Why don't you go eat 4 more cookies? right? So we have these thoughts that can create triggers or routines, and those give us our own reward, right? So those are rewarding me as well, because now I got the cookie and my brain loves sugar, it loves serotonin. So it's going to try to get me to kind of go through that habit loop. It wants that habit loop very much. So outside of that, what we knew, and we're kind of working on this right now that we're in this sort of new normal with COVID-19, is that we were making up to 200 food decisions in any given day. With all of the new ways in which we're being presented with food, whether it be a commercial on television, or I often would use the example of going into stores like an Old Navy or a Home Depot, even, if you will, and being shown food. Because what we know now is when humans are shown food in any way, shape, or form, whether it's just on TV, or you smell food, or you see food, or you think about food even, you're triggered to actually eat, even if you're not hungry. So these 200 food decisions can really lead to some of what we call decision fatigue. We aren't sure how many we're making now that we're kind of in a quarantine sort of state. We actually think it's probably more, believe it or not, because we're in our home and we're repeatedly seeing food over and over and over again. So I'm hearing that people are really struggling with not overeating or over drinking or doing, things that they weren't doing before this all hit. In this crazy time, with everything that's going on, what we've seen is that we had a bunch of routines set up, right? We had certain things where we got up, we made our kids breakfast, we got on the train, we went into the city, we got to our office, we drank our water at our desk, we ate our healthy lunch. All of that is gone. So we've had this kind of very disrupted and very upsetting period of time where, even if you kind of look back now that we're in about 10, maybe 11 weeks of this, especially in the beginning, it was very, very tiring because they were making a lot of decisions that you didn't used to have to make about what would be for lunch and what would you feed the kids for lunch, and where would you eat the lunch, and do you take a break from your desk? Is the Zoom call, like, do you schedule yourself a lunch? Like, how do I do this? All of this was new. And what I was saying, and what I'm still saying now, is that once you know the anatomy of a habit, which is you need a trigger, which leads to a routine, which then gives you a reward, you can leverage that for yourself. So one of my favorite examples is if you say you were like, oh, I always wanted to drink more water. I have a lot of clients tell me, oh, I wish I could drink more water. I should drink more water. And they say, that's my goal. For the week, I'm going to drink more water. And then they leave my office and they drink no more water than they ever did the week before. That's because drinking water is not their habit, right? And they're looping through habits all day long. In order to build a habit, you have to trigger a habit. So what I often say is, okay, so let's set some alarms on your phone, and let's buy you a bright pink water bottle and put it on the middle of your kitchen island, and set some alarms on your phone that say, don't forget to drink your water. When those alarms trigger you, go into the routine of then drinking your water and get the reward, which is often what people report to me is they have more energy, their hair, their skin, their nails are nicer, their mood is better, just all around, they're just feeling better. They're eating less because they're not mistaking hunger for thirst. So that's a really simple example of how to leverage the habit loop for your very own purposes. And I say this not just to parents when they're trying to get their own health in order, right? Say something like they wanted to get an exercise routine in place. This is very similar, right? We have to kind of take a look at where that fits, make sure we have all the things we need, and then trigger that new routine. The thing I like to tell people is the brain hates change. It loves to stay the same. It does not want to disrupt the old habits and patterns and behaviors. In fact, those are very comfortable for your brain. It's very deeply embedded back here, maybe not to drink water or to eat food on the couch at night while you watch TV, whatever that habit is that's standing in the way of your own healthfulness. It's very comfortable. You've been doing it for a period of time. So I always like to warn people that as you switch a habit or as you change it, it's quite uncomfortable, but you have to trigger it. Right. So often when I have somebody who has trouble with eating on the couch after dinner, in front of the television, I will move them. I'll physically move them to a new environment. Like, hey, we'll set an alarm on their phone. It'll say, go upstairs after dinner. And they'll actually, sit in their bedroom to watch television instead of downstairs. And then they don't eat at all because they're in a new environment. They've triggered all these new senses and new locations, and they don't feel like going down the stairs or in the other room, right? So we can trigger these new behaviors. It will be highly, highly uncomfortable, okay? So when we're, creating all of these new routines, as we've been in this sort of quarantine for so long, you may even notice that at the beginning you were completely confused and upset and decision fatigue was setting in. And then now most people I speak to, they've fallen into routines, whatever that may be. Even in my house, I have two sons. I'm homeschooling them. My husband's a Broadway actor. He's suddenly out of work for God knows how long, and he's home all the time. And we've all kind of somehow fallen into these routines and patterns. We've made them, and anything that we repeatedly do, we found became our habits and patterns. Okay. So I tell you this and I teach you this, not because I want you to only do this for yourself, but because I leverage this with my children all the time. We needed to get some help around the house now that we were all home, and my sons are 11 and 15. They're big enough to be able to do some chores. They are old enough that they should be doing some stuff, but they just weren't, because we were all running around like chickens with our heads cut off. So they weren't helping with laundry. They weren't undoing the dishwasher. They weren't even helping us clear the plates after dinner. So little by little, I have been training, the new habits when they get up. And I'll tell you, I said one night we're going to start with the dishwasher, right? They're going to clear the table. They're going to put the dishes in the dishwasher. The first night they were like, what are you talking about? Right? But it was a little bit novel, right? It was kind of fun. It was like, this is interesting. Never done this before. Then the next night when I said it, it was like mutiny on the bounty. Well, we're doing this again. By the third night, they were full on like, this is awful. But guess what? By the fourth night, they knew it was coming and they stopped fighting it. So I use this example because your brain will react the same way to whatever it is that you're trying to develop. Then once you make it the pattern, believe it or not, my son, without being asked today, unloaded and reloaded the dishwasher during the day. He knew he was going to have to do it, so he got it done, So I just want you to kind of think about how you can use this loop to leverage and change anything in your sort of in your life, honestly, whether it be health or children related or teaching or whatever it is. I have always been a real proponent of science. And as we are in this time, and we have this sort of this new, what I'm seeing in my business is a renewed interest in trying to take care of ourselves in a new way, and to develop healthy habits that we didn't have before because we didn't have the time to exercise or we didn't have the time to make a healthy meal. That I want to I'm always trying to expand people's minds. And the book that I wrote called Target 100, which I have here, you can see it behind me. I have a poster of it from my publisher. This is Target 100. It's called the world's simplest weight loss program in 6 easy steps, because that was my focus in this book. But I put this up here so you all could see what those pillars are that I believe create health. And health creates a healthy weight. It's not diet oriented. Nothing I have ever done would put you guys towards dieting. I don't believe in dieting. I don't believe that weight loss or health is just about food, because if we make it just about food and we don't think about movement, exercise, stress, sleep, and hydration, we won't be healthy and we won't be able to sustain it. So I try to teach you, and especially right now, to get this process and make it very holistic, to really think in terms of how do these things, and the reason I put this little icon up here with it looks almost like an infinity, or it's supposed to look like an infinity. These 6 pillars for me are infinitely looped. They truly, if you cannot think of them as equal, and important in your health and wellness life, one will always throw the others off, right? So for example, you know, I will often have someone who we go to begin to deal with their sleep, right? I'll have women who are waking up in the middle of the night, not being able to fall back asleep. And when you don't sleep, there are actual hormones that disrupt your hunger levels. You actually get hungrier by 15%, and then the hormone that stops you from eating drops by 15%. So you get this huge gap of all these hormones that make you hungrier when you don't sleep. So when these women start to realize that their sleep is now making them eat more, which is making them drink less water and certainly not feel like exercising or moving, and definitely stressing them out, we start to see the connection of all of these things. So one can't be left out of the chain without it kind of collapsing on itself. So there is truly science behind each and every one of these that will actually help you be a healthier person, but also in this time, it will raise your immunity, right? So what we know is that eating the right foods, fruits and vegetables and lean proteins and healthy fats and things like that will in fact raise your immunity, right? Just as we know with exercise, that moving more, which to me, these two things are totally different. I separate exercise from movement because I really know that we're not moving, especially now with COVID-19 and everyone working at a Zoom platform. The people that I was working with who are using Fitbits, their movement patterns are down by about 50 to 60%. They're not walking to the train. They're not walking to the office. They're not walking to the car to even go pick up the kids, right? So they're just sitting in front of a computer. So their movement patterns have really gone down, and movement is a very dangerous. Actually, we call sitting the new smoking. Those of us in healthcare right now, that by sitting all day, we do, if you want to think about it like a bent garden hose, right? When you're seated, the blood flow to your legs is completely stunted, right? And it's really, your heart rate slows, your metabolism goes down by about half, and your mood and everything suffers. So this is a really difficult time that we're in, to be sitting in front of computers all day long, kind of screaming into the abyss, if you will. So I'm encouraging movement, which for me is just sort of everyday movement. So personally, for myself, I've gotten these 2 walks in every single day. That's like one of the first things I do in the morning, and one of the last things I do at night is take this 20 to 40 minute walk, twice a day. That differs from exercise in that we really need to stress the musculoskeletal system and the cardiovascular system in order to be healthy. Otherwise, all of this sitting atrophies our muscles, and we have to build them back. We have to be strong in our core and our backs and our legs in order to not fall, break bones, and just basically age early. Okay. Stress, again, is another one of these things that people, it's the number one reported health concern amongst employers. It was before COVID-19, and now it's just through the roof. The stress and anxiety that we are feeling. Stress, again, it releases several hormones that actually make us crave unhealthy foods. There are hormones that make us believe that we are under attack, whether it's just being stressed from not being able to get on a Zoom call or being chased by a tiger. The body doesn't know the difference between those two things, and it does send out the same hormones that grab a little bit of the body fat, release a bunch of adrenaline, and actually make us hungrier to power our run away from a tiger. So understanding that getting your stress under control is going to reduce the intake of unhealthy foods, because when we're stressed and when we get hungrier from stress, we only crave salt, sugar, and fat. We do not crave apples. We do not crave baby carrots. So it's really something to begin to think about, relieving stress. And that can take on all different forms for people. I think people look at that and they think, oh, I'm going to have to start meditating or something like that. And I don't feel that way at all. I feel like you really want to think about what relieves stress for you. My walks become a stress reliever for me. I have a couple of hobbies, gardening for one right now, which is new with COVID-19. I've never had the time to actually plant anything. And I find it to be so peaceful and so lovely. And it really takes like all the edge off, right? So really learning, is it reading? Is it knitting? Is it sewing? Is it painting? Is it meditating? Is it yoga? What is it that really takes that edge off for you and keeps you less stressed so that you don't eat those unhealthy foods, get inflammation, get weight gain, get heart disease, get diabetes, which puts you at risk for complications with COVID-19. So hydration, additionally, most of our country, 75% of people are walking around critically dehydrated. And we are made of water. We are 60% water, with our most important organs, like our brain and our heart, are 72% water. So we need so much more water than people are drinking. And again, that will totally change your energy levels, your immunity, your metabolism, all of those things. So these pillars, I want you to consider each one of them and the small, tiny habit change that you could make in one or two of these. I'm always encouraging baby steps. Baby steps for me are how everything gets done, right? You heard me when I said I didn't tell my kids they had to unload the dishwasher, start doing laundry, They needed to simply, after dinner, help us clear the table and put the dishes in the dishwasher. That baby step then led to, one day we said, okay, we're going to show you, now we're going to move it to unloading the dishwasher. Now we're going to make it that the boys are solely responsible for the dishes, right, in the dishwasher. And little by little by little, we established new routines. So in this time, I really find, because things are happening so quickly and changing so quickly, and we're getting new information all the time, I've even taken it down to where I usually work with clients in a weekly kind of a format. I actually have pulled it back, and this is a worksheet that I've been giving to a lot of my clients, and it's not difficult. You can make this yourself in an Excel spreadsheet. I'm not trying to keep this from you. This is something I hope you would do, is begin to take a moment and really think about the things that you do want to change this week. Is it hydration? Let's just use that as an example and say, okay, how do I begin to build this habit into my life? And how do I begin to build a healthier lifestyle? Maybe it's exercise that I want to start putting in. We can't deal with much more right now than about 24 hours at a time. So I call this the next 24 worksheet. I've laid it out just hour by hour. And then I'm asking you some kind of pointed questions over here just to get you thinking about, like, what does tomorrow look like? When do I get up? What am I going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner tomorrow? Do we have leftovers for lunch? Are we making something for dinner? Getting you not to be a crazy planner and be like, oh my God, I have to write everything down. More to get you doing what we call mental rehearsal. Mental rehearsal is I do this each night. I even try to do it with my husband so we can figure out when our exercise is happening, because he goes at one time, I go at another. When, what is it that he's thinking about for dinner? We work on this together. It really helps me to kind of just visualize, positive visualization, and a little bit of mental rehearsal about how the next 24 hours of my life are going to go. So some of these questions, when will I get outside, right? It's super important for all of us to get outside and to get our children outside right now. And that's not happening for a lot of people. They're just getting stuck in the house and never seeing any fresh air or sunshine, right? So just, when am I going to get outside? let's plan in a 5 minutes, 10 minutes walk around the block if that's all you can do. What time am I going to bed? I'm hearing this from everyone, is that bed time has become very strange, right? The hours are slipping by. I'm trying to get people to trigger a stable bedtime for themselves. So, I just really want you to think through, when am I going to kind of really put myself to sleep and get myself on some sort of a sleep schedule, so that I'm not just randomly saying, oh, I'm getting tired, maybe I'll go to bed now, or maybe I'll watch 4 more Netflix shows, which is what's happening for people, is they're just kind of falling into an abyss of like no schedule, no actual like understanding that they as humans are habit creatures. That's what we are. We're habit creatures. We need our habits, we need our routines, because as I said before, the brain gets tired if it doesn't have things to hold on to that are its patterns, that are its known go-tos. It really gets tired. So you become less efficient, you become less, kind of less able to do what you do. So I really want you to start thinking through, what is it and how do I want to see tomorrow go? Not because it needs to be perfect. In fact, perfectionism is the last thing I need from anyone. But because we know when we watch you guys under brain MRI, when you practice what the day looks like, even just a slight visualization. I told you it takes me about 5 minutes to do this at night. When am I getting up? What do the boys have? What do I have this? What are we doing for dinner? It's not that I stick to it like the law the next day, but I do have an outline, and I do usually stick to it about 80%, somewhere between 80 and 100%, because I've just thought through it. So all of that sort of grabbing of food and not planning anything out and being sort of, like, oh, darn it, thought I was doing well, and then I had a slip up in the afternoon. It's usually because we don't have anything to hold on to. So just by doing this slight bit of work, you'll find yourself just so much more successful. Okay. So I wanted to compile my job. I am not only, have I lost weight, I am a personal trainer. I have private clients. I've worked for some of the largest companies in the world in weight loss. I've helped lots and lots of companies create apps that are wellness apps that have habit formation and triggers in them. And I really know a lot of resources because I've worked across all 6 of the pillars in my book, right? I'm not just about the food. I'm not just about the exercise. I have so many more other ideas for you guys. So I wanted to really give you some of the things that I'm seeing work for my clients and my corporations that I work with right now, to really kind of focus you and make you say like, okay, I'm going to give myself some of these. I'm going to begin to use the habit loop, right? The trigger, the routine, and the reward to set up some of these new healthy behaviors. One of them is, for me, I'm trying to get people to get outside twice a day, if it's possible, right? That's just going to help you get a little bit of sunlight, some vitamin D, get some oxygen, really focus down on the stress relief right now. Stress is a strange thing. Everyone feels it very differently, and everyone has it manifest very differently. As I said, there are many ways to relieve stress. It doesn't have to be meditation, but figuring out what it is that actually brings that stress kind of makes your shoulders go down just for a minute, right? So really getting that in. I'm trying to get people to do, not just fall into turning their cameras off on every call that they're on. I think we've all gone past the point of wearing a lot of makeup or fancy clothes, and we're all just getting on au naturel now after all these weeks. And we are, able to just kind of get on. The human mind needs to see faces and expressions and feel connected. And by being on the camera for a couple calls, I do this with my sister, right? I make sure that I'm not just picking up the phone and calling her, which is our habit. but making sure we FaceTime. She lives alone and she hasn't been able to really see at many people. So I make sure she's seeing my face and seeing her nephew's faces and my husband's face so that she feels connected to something, right? Um, Stand up for calls. If you aren't on the video and you don't need to be seated taking notes or something, get yourself a cheap little headset at like CVS, right? That has a microphone. They're $10. And then I've trained myself. My phone rings and my headset's plugged into my phone and I stand up like a Pavlov's dog, right? It's like shaving a haircut, 2 bits. My body stands up because I've trained myself that I'm going to walk, even if it's just around this small office. But most of the time I actually head downstairs and go out to my front porch and I walk back and forth and I see my dogs and I can be very involved in the conversation, but I'm up and moving. So train yourself to walk on calls. Limit and avoid overindulgence. Indulgences like alcohol, things that are depressants, sugar being something that sets off serotonin release and makes you feel good in the second that you have the sugar, but really ends up you pay a very big price for it as it ramps up on you and ramps up on you and ramps up on you. So I'm really trying to get people to think about, figuring out how to I have a small indulgence of dark chocolate every day, but I know what I can handle. I know how much percentage of the dark chocolate. If it gets too low, then I can eat a whole bar, right? If I keep it at about 73% or higher, I'm good. A few squares can really satisfy that, right? So I'm really limiting my alcohol consumption to just maybe 2 drinks, 2 days a week, because that is really something that's going to help with your mood and the overall feelings of depression that alcohol can bring. Over here, I've actually go back one. I tried to outline a bunch of apps and services that are free right now. Some of these will not be free forever, but because of what's going on, they're offering free trials, some of them up to 90 days free. So for meditation, if you're trying to develop a meditation habit, Calm, 10% Happier, or Headspace are all really, really great resources to just start to learn about different types of meditation. They're very user-friendly and they all have free content. There certainly will have something that you could pay up for. And if you fall in love with their app, maybe you will, but there's plenty that you can do for free. On YouTube as well, like you could just search meditation on YouTube. But these are 3 really great apps. Working out at home with all of our gyms closed and no way to kind of, get somewhere. We've all had to change our habits and behaviors and really had to look into how do I motivate myself? What do I do to keep this exercise up and running? This runs the gamut here. Peloton, I've been using their app. You don't need a bike. They have all these different types they have yoga and boot camps and running and walking, and you can do so many things on their app for free. Beachbody, again, is just a huge library. They've been around for years. Libraries of Pilates and yoga and, just so many things that you could do, and they're doing free trial, right? Active is an audible, it's just in your ears. So as you go out for your run, there'll be music playing and someone talking to you that says like, okay, now run as fast as you can for 1 minute. They time it and then they tell you to stop and walk. And it's really excellent service. They do weight training, whatever you want to do, but there's no visual piece. There are things like just walking at home, right? When it's, pouring rain and I can't get outside, I'm walking on my calls in my house, but then there are things like these walk at home programs. She is famous. Leslie Sansone is a famous walk at home sort of queen of the walk at home world, if you will. And then yoga, free on YouTube. We talked about drinking more water. There is a great hydration app just called the Drink Water app. It's free. And what it does is instead of you having to set alarms on your phone, it does it for you. It triggers those new behaviors. It tracks how much water you've had in a day. and it helps you kind of connect with all the things that how much better you're feeling being hydrated. Nutrition tracking is another great way to kind of trigger better behavior around food. It's just right now we have such a lack of awareness of time and space that I think being able to say, oh, I'm going to take this free, app and I'm going to track my food for a few days, or I'm going to use Liz's worksheet and I'm going to plan out my meals just slightly so that I'm not just grabbing things in the moment and eating sort of without any sort of idea of what I've had in a day. Nutrition tracking and step counting, things like that they're nothing new, but if you've never done them before, they are habit formation tools. That's all they are. They move you from a lack of awareness to more awareness on all levels, right? So I recommend using all of these sort of resources and tips at this time. It's definitely not an easy thing that we're up against, but I do think we have a ways to go with it. I'm trying to encourage people to take this time to get healthier than you've ever been. Really focus on this. Make this your time to do all the things, take all the courses you want to take, try all the exercise apps, make a small at-home corner of a gym in your basement, really start to trigger these new behaviors if you can. And really just keep remembering that we are just a bundle of habits, and a habit is just a trigger, a routine, and a reward. And anything you want to do, any single thing you want to do, all it needs is that trigger to create a new routine, recognize the reward, and over time, repetition and consistency. Those are the two things I completely have to drive home. Repetition and consistency will make those things that seemed difficult before second nature. When your brain gets it down that, okay, when we get up, every Tuesday we get up and we do this video of what's her face's yoga, and that's every Tuesday, and we know where the socks are, we know where the shoes are, we know where the yoga mat is, like all of that becomes rote. In the beginning, when you're having to make all those decisions, it's very difficult. Once you do it several times, the brain knows what to expect and puts it into the habit sphere, and it becomes easier. I'm sure you've experienced this in many, many, many places in your life. Now just leverage it for your own good. So I have put up some information here about where you can contact me if you have questions about anything that I was talking about here tonight. If you want to reach out, I'd be happy to help in any way that I can. I hope you will enjoy the book, and it teaches you a lot more about what we talked about tonight.
Liz, do we have time for just a little bit of commentary or no?
I have about a couple minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes. Yeah.
Mine will take 30 seconds. I just wanted to compliment you because I loved your example of the infinity loop.
Oh, great.
For the healthy habits.
Wonderful.
For the eating right, move more, stress relief, exercise, deep sleep. And I apologize, my handwriting is coarse, but I've thought the infinity loop connection was absolutely gorgeous. So I appreciated that, and that's my only comment. Thank you
so much. I'm so glad you were here tonight.
And Jade and I are looking forward to promoting this with the parents in youth services. So thank you so much. This was lovely.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, I guess we just gonna finish on that. Thank you so much, Liz. It's been a wonderful, very informative program for these days. And as Olga said, we're gonna make sure to promote the program, your book. Of course, we already have a copy, I think several copies of your book we purchased. Best of luck to you in everything you do, and stay healthy, stay positive, everyone.
Thank you. You too.
Best of luck, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lana, for organizing this. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, program.